Are you working hard or just working in vain? Have you ever felt like you're working harder than everyone around you, but somehow you're still falling behind? Maybe you're the first one to arrive and the last one to leave, but your results don't match your effort. Maybe you work 14-hour days while your competitor works 7 hours and constantly scales their business. Or maybe you're exhausted, burnt out, barely sleeping, yet you have to watch others succeed with what looks like half your struggle. If you've ever wondered why hard work isn't enough, if you're tired of being tired with nothing to show for it, then this story will change how you work forever. Because once, there was a baker who almost destroyed his life by working too hard, until one encounter taught him the difference between effort and strategy. Meet Michael, 16 hours per day and hitting a wall. On a busy street packed with bustling food stalls and cafes, there lived a 30-year-old baker named Michael. Michael owned a small, traditional bakery inherited from his family. And Michael believed in one thing above all else: hard work. Every morning, Michael woke up at 3 a.m. while the city was still fast asleep. He kneaded the dough with his bare hands, refusing to spend money on expensive industrial mixers. "My dad always did it this way," he would say. "Sweat and elbow grease is the only honest way to do business." He shaped every pastry by hand, watched the ovens himself, and mopped the floors alone. From dawn until late at night, Michael never stopped. His arms ached, his back was hunched from fatigue, but he wore his exhaustion like a badge of honor. At night, he would collapse into bed, too tired to eat a proper meal, too drained to talk to his wife, Sarah. Sarah would look at him with worried eyes. "Michael, you're killing yourself. There has to be a better way." But Michael would just shake his head. "Success requires sacrifice, Sarah. Hard work never betrays you. I just need to try a little harder." Meet Henry. 7 hours per day and double the profit. The neighboring shop owners watched Michael with a mix of admiration and pity. If hard work alone could make someone a millionaire, Michael would be filthy rich. But the truth was much darker. Despite working twice as many hours, Michael's bakery barely generated enough revenue to survive. His pastries were just average, and his bloated menu of 20 different items made his kitchen chaotic. Worst of all, he had no time, no health, and no life outside the kitchen. Right down the street was Henry's bakery. Henry was the same age as Michael, had a shop of the same size, and even started with less capital. But something was distinctly different. Henry only worked from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m., exactly 7 hours a day. He used a heavy-duty commercial mixer, hired part-time staff during peak hours, and spent his evenings reading, relaxing, and taking his family out for walks. And somehow, Henry's shop sold twice as many pastries as Michael's. This fact haunted Michael every single night. The holiday rush crisis. The busy holiday baking season arrived. The demand for pastries skyrocketed, and every bakery faced the exact same challenge: how to fulfill massive orders with limited resources. Michael decided to work even harder. He started waking up at 1:30 a.m. He kneaded dough until his hands blistered, standing in front of the blazing ovens for 18 hours straight. His body screamed in protest, but he pushed through the pain. Meanwhile, Henry simply optimized his machinery workflow, focused strictly on his 2 best-selling items, and rejected scattered low-margin custom orders. On the 10th day of this grueling routine, something inside Michael broke. As he was pulling the 50th hot tray of pastries out of the oven, his vision blurred. His legs gave out. The tray crashed to the floor, ruining dozens of pastries. Michael collapsed, gasping for air, his heart palpitating wildly. Sarah found him unconscious next to the oven. The doctor at the hospital didn't sugarcoat it. Your body is shutting down. You are severely exhausted, sleep-deprived, and on the verge of a stroke. If you keep this up, you won't live to see next year's holiday season. The moment of awakening. That night, lying in a hospital bed with an IV drip in his arm, Michael felt something he had never felt before. Defeat. Not defeat from the overwhelming orders, but the crushing defeat of realizing that his core belief system might have been wrong all along. I did everything right, he whispered to Sarah. I worked crazier hours than anyone. Why am I still struggling? Sarah held his hand tightly. Maybe, my love, working yourself to death isn't the answer. Maybe there's something you haven't learned yet. Those words kept Michael awake all night. 3 days later, when he was strong enough to walk, Michael did something his pride had never allowed him to do. He knocked on Henry's door. They sat drinking coffee in Henry's bright, meticulously organized kitchen. Michael spoke, his voice completely humbled. I need to understand. I work double your hours. I pour my blood and sweat into my bakery. But you only work half the time and get twice the results. How? The lesson of the 2 knives. Henry smiled and walked over to his tool rack. He pulled down 2 chef's knives, one dull and chipped, the other sharp and gleaming. Michael, imagine 2 chefs competing to cut 100 kilograms of tough meat. The first chef grabs this dull knife and chops continuously for 12 hours straight without stopping. He believes that the more he swings, the more meat he cuts. Henry handed the dull knife to Michael. Try cutting this thick slab of beef. Michael sawed back and forth, his wrist burning, but only managed to cut halfway through. Henry picked up the sharp knife. With one clean, effortless slice, the meat was cut perfectly in 2. The second chef, Henry continued, only works for 8 hours, but every single hour he stops for 5 minutes to sharpen his knife. The first chef mocks him for being lazy, but by the end of the day, the second chef has prepped twice as much meat. You are the first chef, Michael. You've been hacking away with a dull knife for years, wondering why your hands are bleeding, but the job still isn't done. Henry laid out 3 vital principles for Michael. Systems over effort. I don't knead dough by hand. I bought an industrial mixer. It cost money up front, but it freed my hands forever. You spend 4 hours kneading. My machine does it in 30 minutes. Focus over hustle. You make 20 different pastries, spreading yourself thin, so everything tastes just okay. I only make the 3 best pastries in this neighborhood. I master 3 things. You drown in 20. Rest is part of the strategy. My mind is sharp because I sleep 8 hours. I don't burn batches of pastries. I don't miscalculate bills, and I actually have the mental space to create new recipes. You're so exhausted that you constantly make mistakes, which costs you more time to fix. Henry patted Michael on the shoulder. You're not failing because you lack effort. You're failing because effort is the only thing you know. There's a massive difference between being busy and being effective. It's time to sharpen your knife. The transformation. Michael returned home with a completely new mindset. The very next morning, he did something radical. He closed his bakery for 3 days. For 3 days, he baked nothing. He took out a small loan and bought a commercial dough mixer. He sat down with Sarah and aggressively crossed 17 underperforming items off their menu, keeping only their top 3. When he reopened, he committed to working exactly 8 hours. Thanks to the mixer, his prep time was cut in half. Thanks to the trimmed menu, his kitchen was no longer a chaotic mess of ingredients. With his newly freed time, he learned basic marketing and redesigned his storefront. But the most magical change didn't happen in the bakery. It happened at home. For the first time in years, Michael had dinner with his wife. He had the energy to play with his kids. He went to bed early and woke up with a clear mind. 6 months later, Michael's bakery exploded in popularity. With only 3 perfectly crafted pastries, people lined up down the street every morning. His revenue jumped by 50%, while his working hours dropped from 16 hours to just 8 hours a day. The ultimate takeaway. Michael's story isn't just about baking. It's for anyone who secretly believes that suffering equals success. Here's the truth. Hard work is a prerequisite, but it is never sufficient. The most successful people don't work the most hours. They work the smartest hours. Don't brute force what a system can automate. Mastery in 3 areas will always beat mediocrity in 20. Rest is not laziness. It is the maintenance of your most important money-making asset, your mind. Stop treating yourself like a machine built to run until it breaks. You are a human with a brilliant mind, capable of creating leverage. It is time to stop hacking away with a dull knife. Stop, step back, and sharpen it.